And not only were the attackers neutralized, but they fled, leaving behind their arms and dead bodies of their comrades. And as already displayed, that various posts have been captured by Pakistan. And the nexus between terrorists and the Afghan Taliban regime is now as clear as daylight. We had been saying time and time again that there is a nexus between the suicide attacks, the terrorist attacks that are being carried out in Pakistan, that Afghan soil is being used. Afghanistan is resorting to training of these terrorists and facilitation of all kinds to these terrorists who come into Pakistan and they kill innocent civilians, they kill our security personnel, officers and jawans of the armed forces. We recently saw 2 attacks in the capital, where an attack was carried out at a Shiite mosque in Imam Barga. An attack was carried out at the district courts. And we recently saw the martyrdom of Lieutenant Colonel Gulfaraz Ahmed. The Afghan soil is not only used, but the Afghan Taliban regime is totally aligned with these terrorists, and they are fully backing these terrorists. So the DGISPR gave insight into the operation and into the response that Pakistan has given befittingly. I want to shed light today on 3 aspects of the Afghan Taliban regime. Number 1, that it is a government based on repression. It tries to subdue women, minorities, children, and it has usurped the basic rights of the citizens of Afghanistan, and hence I will term it as an illegitimate regime which has no backing of its people, which is totally against the idea of any kind of rights being afforded to the people of Afghanistan. And in fact, it is now taking away their basic rights. So a government which is based on repression, it oppresses the people. A government which is an illegitimate government, and also a government which uses perversion of religion in order to further their own motives. So the Afghan Taliban regime is a regime which is based on repression, which has taken away all rights of its people and has oppressed the people. It is a regime which is an illegitimate regime, and it has come into power by force without any legitimate process, and it is a regime which is based on perversion of religion. It uses religion for its own authoritarian purposes in order to further its own vested interests and motives. The Taliban's new criminal regulation legalizes slavery, violence, and repression of women. The regulation institutionalizes an authoritarian system of control. The Taliban's new regulation contradicts the Cairo Declaration's core guarantees. It is in breach of all human rights laws and conventions. And it abandons equality and divides the society by status. There is stratification. So Article 9, for example, Ta'zeer with regard to the status of the offender has the following levels. There are levels according to which you are regulated. First Ta'zeer is for ulama and first degree people. The Ta'zeer for this group is carried out by the judge in the form of a warning and awareness raising. So if you are a higher status person in that society, you will just be informed that you have committed such acts, a mere warning or an awareness raising. Then there is a Ta'zeer for the elite, such as tribal elders and merchants. The Ta'zeer for this group is carried out by a judge through a formal warning and summoning to the court. So you are just summoned to the court and given a warning and let off. For the elite class, for the first class, that's not even there. And for the middle class, the tazir for this group is carried out by summoning to the court and imprisonment. So there is no imprisonment for the elite class, for the ulama, for the higher strata, but for the middle class there is imprisonment. Then there is tazir for the lower class of society. The tazir for the, and they've actually classified a class as a lower class. The tazir for this group is carried out through threats and beating. However, if it reaches its maximum number, then they resort to other measures. So there is a classification according to class. There is stratification of law, that you will be treated according to your social standing and status in society. Now this is contradictory with the basic Islamic principles of equality and dignity. Now Article 9 of the Taliban's new regulation establishes a punishment regime explicitly based on social status, dividing the society into religious scholars, elites, middle class, and those designated as lower class, with harsher penalties imposed on them. So I think this is, as I said, that Afghan Taliban regime is based on a system of repression, a system which oppresses the people, uses the religion through their own interpretation against the basic beliefs of Islam. They use perversion of religion and to further their illegitimate causes and to strengthen their illegitimate regime. Now Article 15, for example, now it compounds these violations by explicitly recognizing individuals as free or enslaved. There is a process of slavery, treating enslavement as a lawful status within the criminal justice system. This directly violates again the Cairo Declaration's categorical rejection of slavery, and it also contradicts contemporary Islamic scholarly consensus. Now they have made a system of slavery which they use for their own purposes, of the principles of international human rights, of Islamic law, and of very, very basic rights of people. Now for example, violence against women, there is no law that regulates this. Violence against women has not been regulated or brought under any law. So they basically impose a duty upon people to prevent a vice and to take law in their own hands. So this is vigilante justice which is allowed. So if you see a woman violating a law, they actually have a force of 3,000 people who can take action. So this can actually, you can actually authorize neighbors, strangers, normalizing abuses as a perversion of religion. Women's lives are valued less than anybody else. So they are not allowed to have access to public parks, to gyms, to other recreational places, and there is a ban on education. So there is a generation of women which have not been educated, because when you reach the age of 13, girls are not allowed to continue to secondary school, let alone higher school and then college and university. So 80% of young Afghan women between the ages of 18 and 29 are not in education, because the law prohibits them from being educated.